My goal in this project is to increase awareness of Islam in the United States. As all of you probably know, it's the world's second largest religion, and yet Americans know very little about it. And as you probably know, the impression most Americans have of Islam is based on Middle Eastern varieties and also on the comparatively few militant terrorists who dominate the media. And so we need to understand other forms of Islam and to realize that in many parts of the world, most parts of the world, Islam is a positive force espousing peace, education, and democracy. So the people who've contributed to this project: the Center for Southeast Asian Studies, the Center for World Performance Studies, the Residential College, Islamic Studies Program, Lester Mont's office of the Vice Provost, that is, LS&A, Institute of Humanities, Center for Research on Learning and Teaching, Office for the Vice President of Research, the School of Music, the International Institute, the Department of Asian Languages and Cultures, and Rackham. Now I'd like to introduce Fx Suidaryanto. He is a rare hybrid among Javanese performing artists. He is a famous choreographer, an extremely accomplished gamelan musician, a scholar, and a high-profile university administrator. He is an assistant director at ISI Bandung, one of Indonesia's top conservatories of music and dance, and the director of Masyarakat Seni Petunjukan Indonesia, Indonesia's first academic society for the performing arts. He holds 2 national government positions. He received his BA from an important school of dance in Indonesia and his master's degree from the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. He has published 6 books on choreography and dance aesthetics and scores of articles, book chapters, and working papers in Indonesian and in English. He has directed gamelan ensembles, danced, and choreographed at numerous universities in Indonesia and the United States. He's received grants from the Toyota Foundation, the Japan Foundation, the International Institute of the University of Michigan, and Fulbright. Under the latter 2 grants, he taught gamelan music and dance at U of M, each time for a full academic year, each time culminating in a dance drama put on by our students. So this bag lunch will be conducted as an interview with assistance from Beth Janae. She is a dance historian at U of M and has been in the gamelan for many years. So with no further ado, let us welcome Fx Suidaryanto. We brought a wayang golek puppet, and this connects with the style of dance drama that we are performing in. So can you tell us what style of dance? Okay. You want to talk about that here?
Yeah. The style of dance, we call it Peksan Gulek. Peksan Gulek is inspired by the puppet theater. Usually rendering the story of Amir. This is about we call that about the widespreading of religion, Islam religion in Java, and the small town we call that Batas is the center of the wayang golek with their story, not Mahabharata and Ramayana, but the story of Amir Hamzah. Yeah. This is very, now we have still the 2nd generation of the wayang golek performance. And my choreography is based on that kind of sticky dance that not really like a human movement, but some of them is, I'll show you the style that really kind of like total. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the University of Michigan hired you, Masyanto, to put on a dance drama using the Amir Hamzah, or in Indonesian it's called Amir Ambia story, which is an Islamic story that is known throughout almost the entire Islamic world. It's based on an epic based on on Prophet Muhammad's uncle, but it's an epic, so it's fictionalized. And we'll tell you the story later on, and it's very long, so he has chosen his interpretation. And so I'd like to ask you, how did you decide what your interpretation of the story would be? What's the main theme?
Love. Because now, like in Indonesia, even sometimes certain people who
Hold it.
certain a small part of their groups using their violence and so on. But mostly in in our nation, usually we use Islam not as a kind of cruelty or violence or religion. Yeah. This is the way that I would like to show in a certain expression, cultural expression, that not really like now American people thought about. This is not regard as a kind of violence, but in a love, in a art performance that really effective to show something that usually people can being empathetic to their story and so on.
So you're focusing on the aspect of love in Islam.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about love, you're talking about love between humans, or what are you talking about?
Love between human and God, and between humans.
Also.
Yeah. But it is in this we discuss about that, and maybe we can talk about that later on, because I would like to gather the perspective or attitude of American about this religion that sometimes really need to be corrected. Yeah, not really in a certain way like that. And I try to divide it movement that the trimming is there in the movement that's very slow, like when you see film long time ago, like 6 million dollar man, $5 million man. Yeah, this is when they rush very quickly.
Slow motion.
Slow motion, because
Slow motion.
it's impossible to see that. I would like to express that in a slow way, while Amir contemplate about and questioning about the love, the quality of love between him and God. Sometimes he mixed together, and then he dream about that, and then express in a visually with the dancer that represent the meeting of Amir Hamzah and Queen Kelaswaro and Queen China Ataningkat. Triangle love connection that will be performed there.
So we will see him dance that in a few minutes, this notion of dreaming, or this notion of his contemplative meditation of his relationship between himself and God. So we'll see him dance that in a minute. Maybe before we go to the story, if you could talk about the costumes a little bit.
Yeah. We are lucky because yesterday I got this costume from my colleague in Art Institute of Indonesia in Yogyakarta. This is a copy of the real headdress in the court of Yogyakarta, yeah, with her ornamentation like this. Yeah. This is the stylization of the sorban. Sorban is like when people in a court of Yogyakarta, we call that with her position as a haji, or the guide of their servant, the Muslim servant guide in a court that usually has a kind of assignment to pray for the Sultan and so on, using the surban with their like their fabric white and
Turban.
then, yeah, and then this is the stylization and then try to make different different and I'll wear that. And the other one is the tunic. You know, that we have the rompi. The rompi one. This is the inside of the tunic, and then we have the tunic. This is usually the ornamentation is really imitate of the sultan tunic also when we use during the official occasion.
So can you tell us who wears this outfit?
This is
Which
for Amir
character?
Amya.
Amir
Amir
Amya.
Amya. I will wear that. Yeah. So this is the lucky one because it is also my size. I, maybe the eye here, Amir Hamzah is like me.
Absolutely.
No, I just wanted to say, when you're talking about a turban, right?
Yeah.
When you're saying, yeah, Turban is the.
Okay. So do you want to explain these other? Here's the other costume.
Yeah.
Who will wear this?
So this is for Kalila. This is my student, the new student that was learning Japanese dance this here, academic year.
Yeah.
This is for Ataninga or Putri Cina, the queen of China. The kingdom was called is called Tartaripura from Tartar.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
From
This is
Tartar, yeah.
This is the science like Chinese
Yeah.
fashion. Yeah.
Yeah.
So she's one of the two princesses who falls in love with Amir Amya.
I wanted to say that she is one of the dancers that began learning Javanese dance in the fall. She's one of our dance students who aims to be a professional dancer. And so Widaryanto has done extraordinary things with her in the last, since September. And I think you'll see that in the performance. Oh,
The mics are not working.
That's
Only for the recording.
Oh,
We can all hear you.
you could all hear us? Okay.
you can hear us? Okay. Oh, okay.
All right. So I think we will go on now to talk about the story, and Widaryanto will dance various portions of it. Let's see.
I'll dance wearing this one. Yeah. Maybe without the tunic.
Yeah, just about. Yeah.
Yeah.
Close enough.
Where's the symbol?
Do you want to? Oh, the sampur. So a very important part of Javanese dance is this sampur, the dance scarf.
Yeah, because this is usually being attached with the mother and her baby. Because it's very fit size, so it's kind of one body when baby and mother wearing this one. So for the dance, I think it's very important for as a property to flick and also to use sometimes as a digger when you put very quickly and so on. I'll dance for the first scene.
Okay, do you want me to read it first?
Right before this one, yeah. I teach the simple movement, like when we walk everyday life in a certain way. like this one. The step is crossing each other, and then, yeah. And then I add the position of the arm. The arm, you see, always like this, mostly. And then I use this one, and the ones like this, and then walk. Everybody can do that. You also, I think. And then we step to the slow one with the plie or manda position, yeah, with a ketruk. I introduce the ketruk. And then with movement of when we walk like this, yeah. So, yeah. And then running. When we run like this, yeah. But running for the movement, we have a tip tools like this. And then usually run in a what, jumping. So it's kind of bumpy, yeah.
Like the character Bambi.
So we should put like this, not really, so kind of even level.
Yeah, I just wanted to say something about Masyanto's teaching. When he first confronted his students, he had a room full of dancers who had never seen Javanese dance and never experienced it. And so the dancers, especially the dancers from the dance department who were so trained in Western dance, they were always thinking about up, jumping, that kind of thing. You have to have a whole new mentality. And so he was able to get that across to them. I think a very difficult thing to do, but he did it. It's pretty impressive.
The most difficult one is using this one. But they can do. Yeah. It's amazing. Yeah. Before it's going like this.
Yeah.
The shoulder. I think because they enjoy dancing very much, and then all of the body is moving. So I try to make a part by part, not really together, and then simultaneously we can move together. Right after certain exercise like that, and then I start with the choreography. I didn't have any idea yet with the story, with the choreography, and then I start when I met students with all of the different characteristics of the body, and then I try to get the ability of the student. Oh, I should not use like jengkeng because or squatting, because squatting is really difficult for people here. Culturally, when you, sorry about that. Culturally, when you go to restroom, you sit down. Very quickly. In a Java, we squat. Smoke cigarette. Yeah, this is a kind of cultural muscle that I should make adjustment for people here. Also, I didn't push. I don't push this one. Actually, it should be upright like this, yeah, because it's hurt. But at least when somebody feel hurt, this is right.
Yeah.
This is the indication that you did well if you do well if you.
If it's hurting.
Yeah, if it hurt.
And I just wanted to add that hand gesture is an imitation of the Golek puppet from which this dance springs.
Yeah.
And it's something most Western dancers, and these are the people in the dance department, they're really not trained to use their hands as part of the dance. The hands are usually an extension of the arm, like this. Okay, but when this hand becomes mobile and important, which it does in Javanese dance, it's a whole new way of looking at things, and all of the dance students have been impressed by that. I think they understand. They spend hours stretching their legs, and they spend hours stretching their backs, but they don't stretch their hands. They don't think they need to. And it's been a great lesson for them, I think, to understand how expressive hands can be in the Javanese context, in other contexts. And you've seen it filter into their choreography, that they're suddenly aware of their digits and their hands, and it's because of Widaryanto.
In this style, it's quite hard, even for me, because usually we dance with a like this, yeah, with a very gentle and delightful of the movement of circle, yeah. But now I have to do like this, so it's very hard.
Yeah.
But it's very easy for student here because you all the student don't want to remember this position, this position, this position, and this position. We have 4 positions.
Those are the 4 positions in classical Javanese
Yeah.
dance as opposed to this dance which he's
Yeah.
teaching the students.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also the head movement. It's very easy because it can be going like this, just like this, just turn right and turn left, without breaking left, breaking right, or shifting left and shifting right. Yeah. We combine actually. When we dance in not in this style, we do like this. Or when do respecting like this, we do the shifting, not going here because we miss the nose. So we should get their nose, yeah. So it's impossible for this. Usually we do like this in a real, the original dance in a Fx Suidaryanto side. Okay, I'll get the first scene, I think, when you.
Okay, so this
Yeah,
is
this is-
If you use the body mic, we'll still pick it up on the recording, but then we'll still have the
this.
Yeah,
Should-
go ahead. No,
um,
not for him, but if we can hear him okay, but I think the 2 of you, if you use the
Okay.
body mic,
Okay.
you speak into it, I think we'll have better
All right. Okay, so this is this is from the program notes. Oh.
It's not working, Kate. Hello. I still don't. I don't.
Okay, should we clip it? How's that? You think that's working? Whatever. Okay, so we'll go on. We'll start telling the story. Scene 1. The story's hero, Amir Ambia, is a Sufi holy man with extraordinary powers bestowed upon him by Allah. As the dance drama begins, the compassionate Amir Ambia is questioning the nature of his loving relationship with Allah. He's trying to understand the distinction between his love for Allah and his love for fellow human beings. The scene is calm and tranquil as he meditates on this question. As a holy man, he has progressed to a very high level of spiritual enlightenment. And so the dance drama begins with Widaryanto singing a song about this.
Sapa temun kaya apa iki ati ningsih katresnan utama sinaung ing wanci sore napak telenging daru Panaseng sur Yawo sumingkir Melenging palenggahan Dino troing kalbu Angan bisi dengan diko Katyo sekar caket Kang latyo sumiwi Sabdo kang penuh Sahyo Yeah, this is the half part.
So while he is in this state, he sees two real-life princesses, Kailaswara of the Kailan kingdom, who will be wearing the red costume, and Adaningar of Tartaripura, who will be in the blue costume. And they have both fallen in love with him.
Do we have Teresa here?
Teresa will be dancing Kailaswara.
Yeah, yes.
Oh, we don't have a slendog for you.
No, just
Oh, well.
show you the touching a minute, a second, and then in a trimming that I will be in a right down right of the stage, down right on stage, and then going to the up left of the stage, and then she will come, and then with here. That's it. Just and then we be together with this position, and then we make a bit circling, yeah. And then doing another circle with Adaningar Kalila. Yeah.
The other princess.
The other princess. Is Kalila here? No. Okay. So we have the imagination of the relationship, but not really clear yet. Because and then it will be circling by a group of dancers, about 15 or 13, I forgot it. 13 or 15 dancers, and then getting slide to the left, slide to the right, and then break, and then we have another imagination of the relationship of both Krasvoro and Adaningar. And then right after that, both of them making a kind of pushing each other in a chaos. This time, I gave a chance for students to improvise, but in a limited. So it's not like Indonesia with democracy terpimpin.
Guided democracy.
Yeah. But this is a kind of limitation with this position. But you can go to explore the space and creating space that make a chaos. And then the chaos thing we have kind of narration, but in two languages, in Indonesia, in Japanese, and in English. Beautiful English translated by Mbak Nancy Dorita. I love it. This is about the poem of Amir Hamzah, about her questioning the love and so on. it's not necessarily to make clear pronunciation, but the voice image for me is kind of mantra that just the voice. We don't know the meaning or the meaning of association of or denotation of or the other one connotation, but just the voice, the sound that makes something educative for our purposes for that. Yeah. So right after that.
Excuse me, could I break in here and just read that little
Yeah,
part
yeah,
of it?
okay.
Amir Hamzah, still questioning his love for Allah, becomes very confused about his feelings for the two women. He finally accepts that he must return to ordinary human life to deal with this conflict. The scene ends with a surge of chaos as his consciousness shifts from the higher state of enlightenment back to ordinary human reality. And the chaos expressed by the simultaneous recitation in the three languages of the contemplative poem that he sang in the beginning.
Yeah. In this case also, it is strategic for me to change from tuning system Srindra tuning system to Pelop. So I would like to get a dramatic changing, but not really musically heard, because the changing of Srindra and Pelop without any preaching is quite difficult. To be maybe not for you, but for me, it's kind of quite very hurt. Yeah. I try to do that.
Okay, so do you want to dance anything for the chaos to illustrate the
chaos,
chaos?
yeah, we can, but we don't. So this dancer, how many dancers we have? It's okay with this. Yeah, just circling Teresa. You're again here.
I'm here.
Yeah. Oh.
In the circle.
Yeah. You are in this record. Yeah. And then you make a regular cycle and then break. Break. Yeah. And then you make the invasion. Yeah. Okay. Good. Sometimes making like this. Slow. So make a kind of interaction between person and person. Individually.
So should we move on to scene 2?
Yeah.
Okay. So King Prabhu Kelan enters. And he's wearing the yellow, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's wearing yellow.
Tunic, yeah.
He is the father of Kelaswara, and she, of course, is one of the princesses who has fallen in love with Amir Ambia, the one danced by Teresa. King Kelan is in his court, attended by his soldiers. So do you want to dance King
Yeah.
Prabhu? Kelan.
Yeah. Hello.
Hello? Yeah. Yeah. Do you want to
Come on,
show
Charlie.
a bit?
Jangan malu.
Words come back to her. Last time I was your kid, now you're my kid. Sounds sort of like the courts.
We have a group that preparing the space of the sultan. Usually in a Java, we prepare everything and then the king just comes right after everything clear and okay, including the bad things that represented by right after I just make a design for the soldiers, making sometimes going to the space of the king, sitting there and hitting with a circle. What circle? Circle is usually protecting, like a healing dance. You see, I try to use that to protect everything, and then right after that, the king comes from you. Oh, sorry. Right, you audience. Just right after the twice, and then you. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And then.
It's been 3 weeks.
8 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8. Yeah. The basic strong character of the King Kela. We have several kind of different types, but this was the king with her. This one actually. This movement is a stylization of the way Muslim people pray, like this one, right? So the movement here is represented there. And then the typical of our Golek prophet with and then it's also using the using the sugar also sometimes. And then we here. And so on.
He's saying the dance mnemonics, so the drummer
Yeah,
plays, and it's very important, the relationship, very close relationship between the drum and the dance.
Yes, the drummer from Grenell Tari. Fellow. Hey, Roger. Roger.
So then, should we go on?
Yeah.
Okay. Princess Kailaswara enters and requests a marriage blessing from her father so that she can marry Amir Ambia. At first, he is reluctant to give his blessing because of a conflict between his and Amir Ambia's kingdoms. But since the king has long known the power and goodness of Amir Ambia, he decides to give his blessing. Musically, this episode is expressed by a slow-moving, serene piece.
Yeah, right after the scene of the king, danced by Terry, and then Kailaswara will come in. And then slowly, and then come to kneeling in the front of the king, and then the king at first surprised, and then getting one, and then give the bless that he will get Amir Ambia as her husband.
So we move on to scene 3. Princess Kailaswara's soldiers prepare to accompany her to Amir Ambia's kingdom, Koparman. As they depart, the gamelan plays a piece called Runtung, which means togetherness. Before the group can even reach their destination, Kailaswara and her attendants come upon Amir Ambia at the boundary between the two kingdoms. Their meeting is interpreted here as a dance, for which the gamelan begins by playing slow, contemplative music, which develops into a loud and joyful accompaniment to the couple's blossoming relationship. During the dance, suddenly Princess Adaningar, the other princess, who is in love with Amir Ambia, arrives, and she disturbs them. She tries to pull Amir Ambia away from Kailaswara. The music changes musical mode, becoming tense and loud again.
Okay, will you Kailaswara, please? Right after we move and then with this one, the last one, going to Ayunayun. Yeah. Here, stutter, and then we do yes. Yeah. And then dance we go here. 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 1 and 2 and then and then Adaningar comes and then a bit fighting just a second conflict and then we're going to the groups and covered by groups and Adaningar is going to the out of the stage. Yeah.
So yeah, at this point, Kailaswara's attendants surround Adaningar, the other princess, and escort her away, leaving Kailaswara and Amir Ambia in peace. You want to dance that?
Yeah. This is, we meet each other and we go to the king. Yeah.
Okay, we move on?
Yeah.
So scene 4, King Prabhu Kailan, Princess Kailaswara's father, arrives on the scene with his army. He is overjoyed to find that Kailaswara and Amir Ambia have already met. He gives his blessing and performs the marriage ceremony for the couple, for which the gamelan plays a traditional Javanese wedding processional piece. As the couple comes to stand in front of the king, the gamelan plays Ladrang Manten, a ceremonial piece that is played only at weddings such as this. Do you want to dance any of this?
We come together with Kailaswara, approaching Prabhu Kailan, and then we have a blessing from him, and then we dance together towards the audience in Kotok Murai. Kotok Murai is also a part of the respectful peace for the king sometimes, or also for the traditionally for the wedding ceremony. But after we dance together, with the 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 8, and then we move together toward the lift, right after the lift. And then we come again together in the front of the king in Latrang Mountain. And then
Right. The last few lines are all the people in attendance rejoice. The two have been wed as the dance drama comes to an end, with the gamelan playing Bubaran Udan Mas, whose title means rain of gold, symbolizing the hope for happiness and prosperity for both the newly married couple and the audience. In Java, gamelan audiences will recognize Udan Mas as the regular signal that the performance has ended and it is appropriate to leave the concert hall. So as soon as you hear that piece, you can leave.
Get out of there.
Okay, so you wanted to say something?
I wanted to say something about, again, Marcianto's work here. This putting together this dance drama and being both a teacher of dance and a teacher of music has involved extraordinary numbers of hours, including, no, it's got to be the other one. Including the making of costumes, which is part of all of it. You know,
Close to your throat.
that's what I was gonna say. Okay. I just wanted to say, you know, there's a saying that actually from Stephen Sondheim. He says, in art, every minor detail is a major decision. I think all of us know what scholarship is like, and we know how we fuss over our sentences, and we know how we spend all these hours in archives, and you know, to get in back of a paragraph is hours and hours and hours and hours of work, right? I think we need to think about this dance drama as being, again, every minor detail is a major decision. And when you have a group of dancers and musicians who are totally unfamiliar with the vocabulary, and not only the vocabulary, but the kind of cultural ambiance in which it grows up, you have to not only teach the music and the dance, you have to teach the kind of mindset in back of it. And, you know, we talk about these visiting artists as being important cultural ambassadors. I think in the dance drama, and especially his work with the students, you see students actually getting, you know, it's very difficult. Nonverbal things are still there. You know what I mean? We tend to think in words. But when you look at the motions of the dancers, which are very, very difficult for them, when you understand that they are changing the way their bodies usually react automatically to music, when you understand that, for example, just the dancers that come into that classroom from a world of Western dance, which is high excitement, full of competition, a very different way of moving parts of your body, so that you have to not only retrain your body, but retrain your mind to come to terms with this art form. Then I think you have cultural exchange of the highest level here, because they're actually experiencing something. They're you know, it's not going in one ear and out the other. It's something that they can feel in their bodies, and our dancers and our musicians will carry that with them. Wherever they go. So I think this, I just want to make a plug for artistic exchange as being part of a research university, being an important part of a research university. And I think that Marcianto has demonstrated how when you can put people together with a remarkable musician and a remarkable choreographer, you can really change, make them understand the change of thinking and being that involves being part of another culture. And that's why I want to thank Marcianto so much, because he's been really remarkable. I think you know, you only see the tip of the iceberg But the iceberg is, whoa, it's huge. So thank you very much.
You want to talk a little bit about the gamelan music?
Yeah. This is a kind of a little bit frustration because we have some of the last semester had a kind of problem to take the winter semester. Yeah. But then I realized that when I work very hard, I think it will be okay. And then, yeah, I am happy because the students really feel enthusiastic to follow my training, especially listening, not just kind of mechanical playing how many times, but we try to get the signal and then getting the soft, getting the faster, and that's really easy, and I really happy for that. And then I try to put the contemplation with her when I get information about Amir Hamzah story from my colleague in Jakarta. He is a part of the Pelangi. What's the other film right after Pelangi? Sang Pemimpi. Yeah, he is Widaryanto. Yeah, he is one of the actors there, and then he gave me when I make a chatting in Facebook. Yeah. And then I got her. Oh, I can write on the poem directly at it. Wow, I really this is the good thing that I would like to put on my composition. My composition. And then I asked Susan, asked Beth, and then oh, Nancy would like to. I think it's the right person to translate in English. On 1980, Pak Pete translate for the scene of the heaven when I was as a Arjuna, and then having a kind of contemplation also, because meditation of Arjuna, and then the narrator of the Dalang speak about how is the heaven is no light, there is light but no shadow. It's kind of absurd thing. But actually, this is kind of a nice thing to have a kind of translation that I would like to have, but not in a kind of modern life. Yeah, this is really, really nice. And then I try to figure out not really complicated one, but try to get a standard like Ketawang and then Runtung. When I come to Runtung, oh, this is about the togetherness. Runtung means together. And then I have the notation by Narto Sabdo, master of gamelan, long time ago. That's my favorite also. And then I try to figure out, oh, I can make from the choreography of the Pasif Panjawi in wayang kulit of Sedo Babat, right after the main scene, and then going to the field of alun-alun. We can do that. Yeah. And then we have the runtung, bubaran, but bubaran means dismissal, but it's actually the structure that not really complicated. And then the transition from in my idea that we should get the transition from the low mode or parted going to the up higher until I try to find out the transition, but very short, because it's kind of dramatic mood that I would like to show. When Atalinggar interrupted the meeting, the connection or the relationship between Amir Hamzah and Kelasoro. And then this is the transition from Pelok 6 to Pelok Barang. This is kind of a mood that I would like to show you. And then we go to the part Barang, the really highest one of part of Latrang Mountain is really ideal for the meeting and wedding ceremony, and also Udan Mas. Yeah, because Udan means rain, Mas is gold. Yeah. This is a good icon or symbol for prosperity, I think, for the audience and also for the performer, maybe.
Okay. Just a couple of comments on the music. He was saying that one of the first things he taught us was to respond to the drum. So that, and you'll hear this in the dance drama, things can seem to be going along, and suddenly, it's suddenly much quieter. How do they know how to do that? Because it's not set in advance.
Yeah.
But then if you listen carefully to the drum, you'll notice there's a signal, and suddenly everybody quiets down, maybe just for a few seconds.
Yeah.
It's very dramatic.
Yeah.
And then suddenly loud. But all of these things are not predetermined. The drummer has to give the signal, and the musicians have to be able to follow it.
Yeah.
So that was pretty hard for us to learn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially when the musician asks me how many times, how many cycles.
Right.
I don't know yet. Yeah. Just listen. And they did well. Yeah. It's amazing. Yeah. Although this kind of, the patience is the cue, I think, for me to just, no other way, just repeat and repeat. Yeah, repeat and repeat, yeah. So we try to compete the patience between me and the musicians.
Laughter is always good.
Yeah.
The other comment, this comment that he's making about the switch from Halog Num to Halog Barang, that is Halog Num 6, 5, 3, 2, 1. So
Yeah.
you'll hear that in the beginning of the dance drama. And then when it goes, as he said, higher to a more sort of joyful sound, 7, 6, 5, 3, 2. So it's a different sound entirely.
Yeah.
Different pitches are used.
Yeah.
That's what we mean by musical mode. And so you can sort of hear that and go, wow, that's weird. And it underlies the, it heightens the sense of dramatic change.
Yeah. Okay.
So should we open it up to questions
Oh, sure,
now? Is
yeah,
there anything
sure,
else you
yeah.
wanted to talk about?
No, we will have to discuss
Okay.
that.
Yeah.
You talked about the movement of the head. What about the expression on the face?
Okay.
Is there a deliberate
This-
choice
This is interesting question. Usually in Java, especially in Jogjanese styles, we have a term called kotong ning kebak, emptiness but in fullness. It's kind of quite hard to explain, but we should not express in a certain like smiling or angry. That empty. The expressions come from the movement. So this is kind of our emptiness, yeah. But in a fullness of our expression by the muscle, by the music, by the gamelan, and yeah. Okay, thank you. Yeah, it's a nice question.
Other questions?
Thank you for this presentation. It's such a treat to be able to see it and talk about it all at once. I had a question for you as both a dance performer and also a teacher in terms of the relationship of Islam. You mentioned also Sang Pemimpi,
Yeah.
Out of this film Dakwah tradition.
Yeah.
Then some Islamic painters, for example, describe their work as kind of visual zikr, and to kind of give a parallel between the character and this idea of contemplation. Do you interpret it in terms of zikr? And if so, how might that inform your own art or your own way of teaching other students to kind of inhabit these positions that you're teaching?
Yeah, try to expose the zikir as a kind of hypnotize people, because when we have the monotones, it's kind of being hypnotized. When we see bedoyo dance in a court also, it's like 2 hours just in movement, slow, and then you will go like this in between, realize or under consciousness. Yeah, this is also like that. Yeah, especially in the first one, it's very hard for me to explain in a movement, but I try to make the movement very very slow. That's kind of not really in a mundane life. It's kind of different to distinguish between the like zikir, that this is not like modern life. Why we they pray thousand and thousand words, la ilaha illallah. It's kind of very interesting for me. Like when I'm Catholic, and usually when I pray with a rosary, it's kind of also like zikir, yeah, for me. It's kind of monotone, and then almost like, oh yeah, and then conscious again. And at was time, but later on, and then I can concentrate and then can focus in a certain, yeah, situation, and then I got the ideal condition, the quality of a relationship between me and God. Yeah, this is like that.
Thank you for your wonderful cultural exhibition and lecture. I was wondering, does this style of Javanese dance predate Islam in Java? How far back does this style go back to, or is this something that originated after Islam became popular in that country?
You mean before the Islam, or?
Yeah, is this style of dance predate
Oh, this is a new one. Yeah. Sultan Hamengkubuwono IX had its inspiration for the puppet theater in 1941. And then, yeah, quite recent, yeah. And then 1943, this is just one story. And then right after the court rehearsal, moved to outside of the court. And then the genre is developed, was developed very wired, and then tend to be humor. Like the movement is really going, really make everybody laugh. But Sultan didn't want to have that humor one. It's serious. This is about a story that needs sometimes contemplation about the relationship with God and so on. Yeah. Good.
Marcianto, what is the history of the Baksan Golek or the Wayang Golek in Wates? Why this particular village or small town?
Because this is the only dalang.
The other one left?
Now the second generation, Pak Sukarno. Yeah, it's
So there was only one ever, or he's the only one that's remaining?
Remaining.
Okay.
Yeah, remaining. And the good one, Pak Sukarno, I mean the grandson of Widaryanto, the only the dalang, the founding the Wayang Kulit. Now is try to develop in a contemporary puppet with a big puppet, and sometimes perform in a procession, not just in a conventional puppet play.
Widaryanto,
Yeah.
I'm curious as to find out, in Wates, in the village itself, the practitioners of the Golek theater and eventually transformation from the Golek to the dance. Are these people followers of a particular Sufi tariqa, or were just artists transferring the notion of a Sufistic tradition? Are they practitioners of the Sufi tariqa, or they are embodying the idea of Sufistic tradition, which is,
Not really deep like that. This is just in Wayang, in Wayang Kulit especially, in West Java, and then the story is Mahabharata and Ramayana. But the Wayang, the other Wayang Cepak, we call that. This is kind of Wayang Kulit also. This is the story of Amir. Yeah. In Java, not the Wayang Kulit, but Wayang Kulit. And then people like me, I dance not as a kind of follower, yeah, but I try to get the aesthetic aspect, yeah, to develop the idea of the Sultan that not finished yet, because before a Sultan make a settlement of the the whole of the choreography, he died in 1987, I think. Yeah.
So you mean to say there isn't any practicing Sufi connected to the artist and artisan who works with this particular piece, or I'm trying to figure out where the connection of the Sufi link is, whether it is an interpretation of Amir Hamzah as the beloved uncle of the Prophet and the context in which he died as a martyr, or whether Amir Hamzah is actually a vehicle by which one associate the level of translation between self and the other. So I do not know whether I'm very curious because this is the first time I'm hearing there is actually a Sufi connection, and that I think is very interesting. If we could, relate whether there is practicing Sufi or interpreting Sufi, or whether Sufi is a causality for the performance.
Not really like that. Yeah, not really our connection directly to Sufi. Yeah. So that I know. Now the performance of Wayang Kulit in main story is not really, it's just performance, not really used as a kind of da'wah like a long time ago. Yeah. Okay.
What is happening in choreography in Indonesia right now? Are people sort of going in all directions, or are there certain schools?
We are lucky because we have official schools, state school in the Institute of Art Indonesia in Yogyakarta, in Surakarta, in Denpasar, in Surabaya, in Bandung, Jakarta, and Padang Panjang. This year, the plan is Aceh, Kutai, Kalimantan, and Papua. Yeah, I'm involved for the founding that because the government would like to develop their the not just the education of art, not like the science education. Education art in Indonesia based on the ampu tradition, the mastery tradition, that's impossible to be average in all of the area that express multiculturalism in action. So we try to do that, and there is a chance, and there is a chance to collaborate, and then develop their kind of community college inter the area. So they will find the contemporary idea of the choreography. That's now already done. And also, we have the International Community College model now between IKJ and California Institute of Art that will be performed also in Solo next October for the Festival of Indonesian Art, International Indonesian Art in ISI Surakarta. Yeah. I'm involved also for that activity. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for coming. And
Please join me in thanking